A Fed chair fail is underway. Are double rugs in the house? Well, we're going to talk about that today, and we'll dive in deep. Let's just jump right into it. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is BTCC. In these kind of volatile times, this is the place to go for trading. Check it out using our link. Of course, you get a 10% bonus on your first time trade over there. A lot of other benefits that you can also get. I'll zoom in on that right there, including other bonuses, lower trading fees, get on the VIP user strategy. All of that is available. They've got a copy trade feature that's pretty cool. And of course, always be very cautious when you're trading. Don't over leverage. But the key here is you can do some very intricate trades that, of course, can take advantage of where the market is right now. So check it out. Use the link down below. I want to bring in Mr. Tim Warren, who's going to join me today, and we're going to chart some things for you guys. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing good. The portfolio is not looking so great. Trading portfolio's up, but long-term portfolio not so good. Other than that, though, I'm doing okay. I'm a Virginia Tech fan and a Bills fan, so it was a rough year.
So you have to be doing okay because of those two teams. Listen, I got a tweet here. And I think this was a good thing because it explains some of the problems that everybody was looking at yesterday. And it's not really funny in the sense that AG committee, this is talking about Ag committee, passing their part of the Clarity Act, Bitcoin down. Government shutdown avoided, maybe, Bitcoin down. Yeah. BlackRock doubling down on more Bitcoin ETFs, Bitcoin's still down. Inflation numbers come out hotter than expected, Bitcoin goes up. Or does it? You would think that we would see Bitcoin going up. So obviously your statement of Bitcoin broken.
At this point, Paul, if it's not going down, that's up right now
that's
for Bitcoin movement. So.
Okay. It's not. And as we speak, I'm looking here at my live Bitcoin tracker, 82.9. Yeah, 82.9. Yeah.
So, sideways, but up.
Sideways and painful. Yeah. So do you think we get a 79K here? What's your feeling?
Oh yeah.
Without going to the chart, we're going to chart in a second.
Yeah,
you feel like it's in the cards.
So I am an if-then trader, right? So there's almost always a case for a bullish move and a bearish move, right? So it's about saying if this plays out, we're going to go to the upside. If this plays out, we're going to go to the downside. The bearish scenario is played out. We lost a key support level. High volume came in on it. Nothing's ever 100% in the world of trading, investing, charting. Nothing's 100%. But I would say at this point, the probability of going sub 80K is probably up in the high 80s to 90s. Mm-hmm. I think the reality is we're looking at lower mid 70s as the next stopping point. 75, 76K to me is the next stopping point to watch for support.
Okay. Listen, my prediction is we are going to see a downward trend in the market maybe until April. And the reason obviously is all centered around clarity. Because there was a lot of accounts out there that were giving, I don't think that it was misinformation. I don't think they just didn't understand. But this, of course, was Bitcoin Hopium talking about Senate Ag Committee just passed the crypto market structure bill. This is the problem that we had. That did not happen, just so everybody's clear. If you watched our video yesterday, you saw what we were talking about. It's not going through the bipartisan lines that it was voted on did not give us any faith going into the Clarity Act. The Clarity Act challenges still remain today, which of course is putting a lot of pressure on the markets, because I think the markets in general, along with what was happening with government shutdown probability, which even though it's dropping slightly, it's still very high. We are going to get a shutdown. The question is how long? The likelihood is maybe only a few days. And this is where timing comes into play, because this will be everything for Bitcoin, Ethereum, some of the very volatile assets, right, including Solana, which we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But I think April is the key here. We've got to get over this hump and hopefully get into a point where we can go forward here. What do you think about the shutdown? Do you think they're going to be able to pull this together and get it done quickly?
Quickly in Washington, D.C. don't go well hand in hand. Yeah. It was kind of amazing, I will say. There was that vote yesterday morning that they said no deal, right? And there was going to be a larger shutdown. We're calling it right now, we're calling it a partial shutdown. Trump was able to go to the table with Democrats and work out something to mitigate a lot of issues. There's still a couple left over, but a lot of them were solved, which does show a willingness to work together. So at this point, it's anyone's guess. I would say I think Polymarket's going to call this one correctly. We're going to get a partial shutdown probably tonight. Revisit this sometime early next week. Remember, the other thing he's doing next week when it comes to the Clarity Act is he's meeting with the real wrestlers. Like, everyone wants to look at Republicans versus Democrats right now, and guess what? That's a good thing to look at.
Yeah.
What about the banks versus crypto execs? And he's
100%.
getting both of them into a room, and he's saying, let's work on this. I mean, I think I don't know how many, I don't know the numbers, but how many banks are in the pocketbooks of some senators that they've told their senators, don't vote yes on this until we like it. Crypto regulators or execs are saying, don't vote yes on this until we like it. Get those big wigs into a room, come up with a deal, tell their senators, all right, now you can vote yes. That's my hope, Paul. I hear you. We're not going to rally again until the Clarity Act passes. Is that next week? No. Is it a week after that? Maybe. Is it April, July, November, 2027? I don't know when it passes. Hopefully sooner than later. But that's what I'm hoping. I'm hopeful it can happen sooner than later.
Well, you look at how many senators' pocketbooks they're probably attached to. I mean, you just have to look at it. 61 is the number.
Yeah.
Which is what we're dealing with right now. And I think the point being of that we get clarity, most likely the negotiation is really going to boil down to yields. I unfortunately feel that we will lose the yield battle to the banks. I'll show you guys something to kind of support that here in a minute, but we'll get into the Fed thing. But I think this is still going to move into April. Maybe a little bit earlier, but I think April is kind of the no-fly zone. Once we get past that, we are in midterms, and at that point I feel that clarity will fall away from focus. And that, of course, could be huge in terms of stopping crypto in general, because if we get a complete shift in the Senate and the House, believe me, we are going to see a very tumultuous time coming up in 26 and 7, or for the rest of 26 and 7. I want to go over to the announcement that was made for the Fed chair, and this is Kevin Warsh. He's going to be the first, according to Michael Saylor, pro-Bitcoin chair of the Federal Reserve. I don't think he's actually pro-Bitcoin. If you look at some of his statements, he's kind of made the statement that it is more of a, well, if you're under 40, Bitcoin's a good thing. So I think the Bitcoiners may be a little bit more pro on this right now. The other problem that I'm concerned with Kevin Warsh is I think this might shut down QE. Here's a tweet right here that kind of explains it. This came in from Bull Theory. And I thought his statement was right down here at the bottom. Trump does want lower rates. Warsh wants tighter balance sheet discipline, which means we're going to deal with market fear rate cuts without QE. And maybe the era, and this may be right, because he has always, this has been his kind of his track record before. And remember, this guy was involved in the 2008 debacle. So I don't know, this may not be as good as we think. This may be a fail on the Fed chair selection. What are your thoughts right now?
I haven't done a whole lot of research into Warsh specifically as a person, other than, what's floating out there on the internet.
Yeah.
One thing we've joked about in our company, we joked that Donald Trump wasn't going to appoint anybody. He was just going to take it over himself. He was just going to become the chairman of the Fed. I find it hard to believe that Warsh is going to do anything opposing Trump's wishes. Of course, once he gets the job, he could turn on him, right? And Trump knows that. Some people have to remember, Trump's the one that gave Powell the job, right? So at some point, Powell turned on Trump. At one point, Trump liked him. Now, all of a sudden, they are far from friends. So could we see that play out again? Possibly. But I have this feeling that Warsh is going to be more of a puppet. He's going to be vice Trump. Trump, what do you want me to do today? Okay, I'll go do it. We'll see if that changes. I think there's going to be a lot of noise coming out about the situation just to create drama. I mean, you and I both know we're in the news industry. Sometimes news is real and sometimes news is just drama. What we know, we don't know. At this point, though, I'm treating the whole thing like Trump is going to be the chairman of the Fed. Whatever Trump wants. Does Trump want QE? QE will come. Does Trump not want QE? QE won't come. Does Trump want rate cuts? He'll fight for rate cuts. I think the other thing that's important to remember also is while the chairman has a lot of impact, the chairman doesn't get to singly make these decisions, right? He has to work with the other members of the board
For sure.
to vote on rate cuts, to vote on quantitative easing, to vote on quantitative tightening. So it's not like he just runs in here and he's a bulldozer and does whatever he wants. There will still be conversations to be had. But I'd say again, I'm going to use the word optimistic. I'm optimistic that even if things are coming out that he's not a QE guy, ultimately, if Trump wants QE and this is Trump's guy, Trump's done his vetting. He trusts this person. He's going to do what he wants.
I am on the fence with this guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he is. Yeah, he is. His track record is a little sketchy, compared to what we have seen with, if it would have been Reader, I understand that would have been a little bit overboard in the sense the Fed independence would have been questioned, I think, immediately. This guy, I don't think Fed independence is at risk. The markets didn't really reward it, but they didn't, necessarily go against it either. So it's going to be something to kind of keep an eye on here. I want to go to a clip because this is the other hurdle that they have to go through that still means we could have Powell much longer than we think. Remember, his term ends, right here, but he can continue on. Let me play this clip for you.
But I will not vote to confirm any Fed nominee until this matter that the Department of Justice apparently pursued, what I believe is ultimately going to be viewed as a perjury trap. And it has to do with a building, whether or not there were cost overruns. Well, my goodness, if we want to get to that level, then I want to see the details of the East Wing cost, maybe even the cost of the Qatar jet. I mean, we can go all over the place if we want to start talking about efficiency. I was worried about what the market reaction would be if the world financial system suddenly thought that we had a Fed board that served at the pleasure of the President of the United States. Okay, I'm thinking about other people who would use this in the future, and the markets would as well. President Warren. So I'm in a position right now. DOJ got us here. Now they've got to finish this investigation until it is completely done. Then I don't think it's appropriate to consider any board composition.
How far are you willing to go?
Look, I grew up in a trailer park and I like a good scrap. And I did that in the first Trump administration, and I will do it in this one to help this administration from itself when they're pursuing bad ideas.
All right, so that was Senator Tom Tillis. What he simply says there is they're going to keep Powell going until we get all this clarity done. I mean, in sense of clarity of what's happening with the Fed. This could continue to push things further into the year before we get that, meaning past the June date for the next, the next few FOMC meetings, which could also extend the situation for higher for longer. All of course, because we saw the numbers come in from December on PPI, CPI, which have both been up and hot, versus Trueflation, which we know the difference is there. But how does this affect Bitcoin right now? When you look at the chart on Bitcoin, we saw it crater yesterday. I think in part because of clarity, maybe in part because of Kevin Warsh. I'm not sure, because you would think it would have had a little bit more of an upside effect, would you have not?
So forget every story out there, forget the hypotheticals, forget everything else. The news right now is that Bitcoin just broke a key upward trending support level. It broke out of what we call a bearish formation, a rising channel or a bear flag pattern. The consequences of this are that Bitcoin, the next move for Bitcoin should be somewhere around $76,000 at the top. If I can grab this correct. Oh, grab the wrong tool there. Excuse me. We'll do a line like this. 76K at the top, really close to a support band we had from back in April. At the bottom side of this zone, the bear flag pattern, we're talking about 64,000. I think I actually have that almost marked. I have 63 marked. Let's just raise this up a little bit. This is a huge zone here, but that's the reality of what we're looking at right now. The charts are saying we need to head down. We broke support. We had increased volume while doing so. This is a very bearish formation. We might play around a little bit. We might, have some volatility, but at the end of the day, Bitcoin wants to head down. Good news is not good news right now. Bad news is bad. This is the price prediction I have right now for Bitcoin's next move. I think, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but what's causing this from a news perspective? They love to make us think it's 100 different things. The reality is we're not rallying right now. Bitcoin is falling, and metals up until today were rallying because of economic uncertainty. And who's causing economic uncertainty? There's no two ways to talk about it other than saying Donald Trump. Donald
Yep.
Trump is a little bit of a crazy man. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's really bad. But with the uncertainty happening right now, nobody is staking their claim in the crypto world. You
Yep.
lead back to what I think I just told you guys earlier, and I think you kind of echoed a similar thought. How can Bitcoin and crypto rally before the Clarity Act passes? It really can't. The next wave of money flowing in will be from institutions. They need the Clarity Act to see the clear rules and regulation on how they can invest heavily into the blockchain technology. Well, what's the biggest thing keeping the Clarity Act from passing right now? As we've been discussing, Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. Can we get along with this? Are we going to prevent him from the midterm? So it doesn't matter if you like Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump, don't care about it. You can't argue that it's anyone's fault but Donald Trump that crypto is not rallying yet, because his policies, his position are causing the ripple effects to prevent the next big surge.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the poll and we'll see. Here we go. What's causing the crypto crash right now? More Trump or Powell? We'll go ahead. It seems like you and I are on the same boat.
I would say
and
Trump,
that is
yeah.
Trump. Yeah, 55% right there. Even though 44%, a little higher than I would have anticipated there, saying Powell is in. That's about 500 votes in right now. When metals move like meme coins, it can mean one thing. Are crypto natives piling into gold and silver? What do you think? Yes, no, or they're just nibbling right now?
Hard to say. I think a lot of crypto people are gone. This retail is dwindling at this point. I think that definitely a good amount of people are looking at silver, trading silver, investing into it long ago. We actually, our community did it last summer, got into silver and gold. Nothing major, should have gotten a whole lot heavier than we did, but it was something we dabbled in last summer. Very glad at this point that we did. But I think right now there's a whole lot more. I think there's more institutional interest right now. I think as the dollar's dropping, more smart money is flowing into commodities. If the dollar's dropping, but you have economic uncertainty, commodities becomes the game. It becomes where money wants to sit to be safe. Not necessarily risky assets like cryptocurrency. Yes, people are going to say the stock market is doing well. Really, only the AI sector of the stock market is doing well. When you look at the other sectors, they're not as strong right now. So recently, is retail a part of that? Maybe a little bit. I think the problem actually, as we're watching the silver and gold chart right now, is more than likely, wow, silver's now at 82. We've seen retail probably jump in here recently and be a potential sell-off signal because retail's engaging with metals because crypto's not doing anything.
Well, I'm going to go with nibbling. No, DCAing was the number right there, 49%. They're not buying in right now, which is back to your point, thinking that retail is pretty much out right now.
They're just not here.
Yeah. And when you look at that, because I think this is a factor of where silver and gold is, I want to take a look at the gold chart real quick. When you look at gold holding the 5,000, hopefully holding the range of 5,000, do you think that is going to be the floor right now for gold?
Well, we're not holding 4,000. We're now at 4,700
now. Okay.
Yeah, it's dropping rapidly. I mean, this is the daily chart. Let's go take a look at the hourly chart here. It's accelerating right here. Volume coming in increasingly as well. This is something I actually made a video earlier today. I told my community, I was like, I want to go in on a silver long or a gold long. We were getting buy signals on the 1 hour chart for gold. And historically, during the bull runs, buy signals on the 1 hour chart have been fantastic. But you can see here, this was a fake out. We actually failed on this 1 hour buy signal, which is a sign of shorter term bearishness. It's only a 1 hour chart, so it's not reason to freak out for like the next couple of weeks. But there's a strong bearish push right now on gold. And I would actually say with what we're looking at now, as the 4 hour chart starts to show you some potential overbought signals, you're going to start asking the question, well, the last time we were bullish, gold here was at 4,500. If we can get a sustained bounce above 4,500, this buy signal is still solid. If price drops below 45, though, that could end up making this buy signals in general, not strong, which is at this point, a 4 hour buy signal being ignored would be a strong case for bears to take over. I told people, we went higher than what we thought we would, but I was telling people after we broke through 4,300 back in December, I said the next spot to watch on gold is going to be $5,100. The next significant Fibonacci level, the 2.618, that'd be the next level to watch. Of course, we shot through it. We went all the way to 5,600, but it was so fast, so quick, so aggressive. This is now dumping. I've told people gold needs to correct 20%, and that's not a bear market. 20% correction on gold would be a healthy correction. That would say that gold right now, as we're working on it, should make its way at least down here back to 44.50. That to me is looking very probable. We're more than half the way back down there.
Yeah.
We're down 15% today. Same thing with silver. Silver is now sub $80. We're sub the former resistance level from back here in January. I said silver probably needed to dip more like 40%. Even in my video I just released here today, I said don't expect it to happen today. I very well might end up being wrong. We're now down 35% today. Oh no, sorry, from yesterday's high, we're down 35%. 40% would put us down here at $72. We're almost there, Paul, like as we're talking right now. So we're going to find out when we get these bounces. Again, we should have some sort of a bounce. Did gold and silver actually top? Or is this a very quick, very aggressive liquidate on retail as they jumped in at the top, but then all of a sudden institutions regroup and buy these 20% down on gold, 40% down on silver, and head back to the upside? I'll tell you why there's a possibility. First of all, where's the money going? It's not flowing into crypto. Look at the stock market. The stock market's just holding tight. So money's not flowing anywhere. We're not in risk on at the moment, right? If risk on was the case, stocks would be going crazy, crypto would be going crazy upside. That would be like, to me, saying, okay, gold and silver might have topped, but the money's not flowing anywhere else. To me, this almost looks like a liquidity grab to buy a dip before the next run on metals.
Speaking of institutions, you had Cathie Wood basically calling this dip yesterday, saying that odds are high that gold price is heading for a fall intraday. So market cap of gold as a percent of U.S. money supply, M2, hit an all-time high. Big deal here. Well, the other thing you got to worry about when you're thinking about Bitcoin, you've got Bit Digital now exiting Bitcoin mining. They're shifting to ETH and AI. If we see this, we showed this the other day on the show, is that the profitability of miners had stabilized and they started, well, several of them have started to go into the red in terms of profitability. So this might be the exit, which is going to be a problem for Bitcoin in general if we continue to see a decline in miners overall. So it's something to keep an eye on. Another point to pay attention to, guys, is this whole battle that we're dealing with on the stablecoin front. And this is in reference to Clarity. Tether now is backing stablecoin yield ban. So they're siding with the banks on banning stablecoin. Now, you got to remember, USDT, very tied into Cantor Fitzgerald. Cantor Fitzgerald now doing an acquisition on security. I mean, there's just very interesting bedfellows here. Of course, now you got Paolo and Brian Armstrong going head to head. I think there's going to be a compromise here that, of course, gets us into Clarity going forward, but we'll see how it goes. ETH, with all that, though, ETH could win. So tell me about ETH. Where are we?
As far as the charts are concerned, I mean, it's not going to be crazy different than we see with Bitcoin. ETH had its own little demons to fight over here. We had a symmetrical triangle pattern. We broke out here actually multiple days ago. So I was bearish on ETH back here in January, like on the 21st or so. A target I had for them, I'm not necessarily looking at a full-blown bear flag there, but I was sitting here saying this big support zone was going to be very interesting between 25 to 2,400. The target should actually be 2,240. So anywhere between 25 and 2,200 for me was the next pocket to look for with Ethereum. Again, with other things here, these are telling stories right now. People shouldn't ignore them. Some people are going to say, oh, a buy signal failed. That means the buy signal doesn't work. It's like, no. Make sure when you're trading, you understand the story being told. Similar is like when you look at a moving average. Some people like to use moving averages for support or resistance, but if it breaks, it's like, oh, that moving average failed. No, it didn't fail. It's telling a story. There was a big buy signal on the daily chart here as we broke below here, and we've ignored it. We've crushed even lower, which tells me the story is The bulls are not in control. The bears are in control. So it is time to be more defensive. It is time to look for shorts. Our community was shorting this Ethereum as we came back up to $3,000. So we've had community members make a lot of money here in the last couple of days, shorting Ethereum, shorting Bitcoin because of these breakout signs that were the if-then statements. If this bad thing happens, it can get a lot worse. Those bad things happened. And so right now, I'm still bullish long-term, Paul, but I am bearish in the short term until something changes, until a story comes in and changes it, until we see a chart actually make a strong bullish move that proves bulls are back in control. Buy signals are not helpful right now. Sell signals are lethal. It's time to be bearish.
Yeah, time to be bearish. A couple other things you've got to consider that could be, I don't know if I would call it bearish, but it also has a good upside to it, and that, of course, is RWAs. And tokenization, as we start to see a lot more being tokenized on chain. And I think Wallstreet is already kind of committed to this. A lot of strategic moves now being made as well. Ondo Finance doing their big summit coming up very soon. On February 3rd, they're going to be up there. And if you look at Ondo in general, not necessarily the play. And I'm curious, do you think Ondo is going to be in charge of tokenized securities, or do you think this is going to start to flip to xStocks and Solana?
It's going to be interesting. Obviously, Ondo works with Solana as well. So I don't necessarily think there's going to be a full-blown competition between Solana and Ondo individually. Right now, Ondo still leads, right? So if things start to flip, if the data does flip and all of a sudden Ondo's losing their contracts, losing their deals, these companies are choosing other platforms to utilize, then yeah, I'll throw in the towel and say Ondo's done. But as it stands today, Ondo is still the leader in tokenized assets so far. I still have hope in it. The chart is horrible, right? We're back down to 30 cents as we're talking right now. So there's no confidence in the charts, but fundamentally, there still is, I think personally, a lot of reasons to be bullish. But if it changes, it changes. And I think a smart investor knows when to pivot. And so maybe you're looking at this right now, and you're much more of a fundamental guy than I am. Maybe you're looking at this and saying, yeah, it's time to pivot. I haven't had that same conviction, but maybe you need to teach me about this one and give me a good reason to sell my Ondo.
Well, I think, when you look at xStocks and their performance, one of the things that it probably is going to cause it to accelerate, I actually have a clip on this real quick. I'm going to play it for you, and then you can kind of get your opinion. Take a look.
Being permissionless was absolutely key to that. Most of the things that we saw out there in real world asset tokens was really not that. You had to be permissioned, you had to be KYC'd, and it wasn't going to work in all the things that we wanted to make it work in. When we met the back team, who were our partners in building this, and now actually we acquired them as of last week, they had something special. They had worked with the European regulators to build something that both was properly regulated in Europe, but simultaneously was permissionless. That was just amazing and unlock.
They did the back end. They did a lot of back end work.
Exactly, and a lot of regulatory work.
Yeah, they did the compliance in the design. All right, so how do I get my hands on some xStocks here in the U.S.?
Not yet. Inside 2026, we'll have most of those markets open.
Okay, so I'm on the hold. There's a waiting list. I'm like, being first mover is about getting the first mover versus the old stuff. Hey, let those guys get out there. We'll come in fast follower strategy.
Once that infrastructure works, it is really hard for someone else to catch up, right? Build users, you build use cases, you build all these proof points and a whole ecosystem around what you're building. Yeah. And to be honest, I think xStocks has the potential to be that, and that's why I'm so pumped.
All right, so I have to ask this: when that domino falls in the U.S., what is unleashed?
I'm looking forward to creativity and chaos.
Let chaos reign, then reign in the chaos.
Yep. It's a permissionless token. And then all of a sudden you have the equivalent of like UGC, user-generated content, and that is part of the excitement.
Someone build a video game, social game with trading.
Exactly right.
You probably saw that already. It's happening right now.
So he said some key things. That was one of the key execs with xStocks. Obviously, they're tied with Kraken. And the point he's getting at is that it kind of doesn't matter. This thing's getting ready to go parabolic in terms of use case, especially if the U.S. and even without the U.S. coming on board through clarity and regulation. That, I think, is one of the big ones. Now, granted, Ondo would say, well, yeah, but institution is going to be the growth opportunity. Maybe so. It's very possible that both could have their day in the sun, but I feel like xStocks is probably going to be the one that wins here on this. But that's the point.
It's going to be interesting to see how it runs. Like I'm not. I think potentially a good move is to be diversified between the two of them. But let's take an altcoin comparison. How I feel about that clip, Paul. For the longest time, obviously, there's a big competition between, let's say, Cardano and Solana, right? And there was always this kind of statement of like, well, Solana goes fast and break things. And yes, it has better numbers right now, more value locked, and it has more, exchanges happening, but Cardano's going to catch up and Cardano's going to do all these really cool things. And from a fundamental perspective, there was a lot of exciting details about Cardano, but fast forward to today, and I'm not calling Cardano's dead. I'm just saying Cardano is nowhere close right now to Solana.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, the data is going to have to show us a switch. Because right now the data suggests that Ondo is the clear front runner. They are the leader on this. They have the most total value locked. They have the highest percentage of tokenized assets at the moment. So I think this is one that I'm going to want to see. I'm not saying it's not a proper move to diversify. I want to see xStocks numbers start to rival Ondo, see Ondo start to fall, because otherwise could this just not be? I mean, we just watched a video of the execs of xStocks promoting it and saying it's great. I hope they think it's great. They're the execs of it. Let's see the numbers actually shift and show us, no, people like xStocks better than Ondo.
Well, xStocks has had larger growth. I think it actually flipped there for a moment in the past, week to 10 days. So it's kind of neck and neck right. It's kind of neck and neck right now. And the winning token.
Then I'd say let's do it. I'd say let's good.
Yeah. Well, the winning token here is going to be Solana. I think is the point that we're getting at right now.
Agreed.
So. Because both, is going to be the question of where the platform, but obviously Solana being the winner there in terms of how it rides. When you look at Solana right now, because obviously it's being basically tortured on the charts, where would you say Solana's position would be right now if you look at the charts and where it could be? Are you still bullish or are you bearish on Sol now?
Well, I mean, I'm bearish on the crypto market in general, right? There's just not a world right now where you're looking at Bitcoin falling, but altcoins all of a sudden will take off without them. Why? Because they're all waiting on the Clarity Act. We said this earlier. Retail's not here, right? Retail's not here to buy. Whether the retail left because they made enough money they wanted to leave, which I doubt that's the case. I think the majority of it's the 4-year cycle thought process of like, oh, the 4-year cycle's done, the top's in, sell, come back in a year, we'll make money. So retail's not here to send anything to the moon, which is what I predicted would happen. I just thought the Clarity Act would be passed sooner. I thought institutions and banks would be in here sooner. They're not going to be in here. They can't be here until they know the rules. That's why the Clarity Act is so important. So if retail's not buying and the institutions aren't buying, nobody's buying. So why would I be bullish on a market where there's no buyers right now? That's where I am with crypto. Now, does that mean that we are going to crash another 70%? Not necessarily. I think Solana, I will say, this was one we called out earlier. We said, hey, Solana's going to make a pretty decent size move down. Oops, grabbed the wrong tool there. It's going to make a pretty decent size move down. We had this rising wedge pattern that I said, hey, look for Solana to make a move down here closer towards 106. We're pretty stinking close right now. We're at $116 on Solana, very close to that support level of this formation. Does that guarantee us we'll drop, we'll stop dropping at that point? No, we could definitely go lower. Obviously, you're going to keep your eyes on the $100 psychological level anyway. But I do think Solana's building a little bit of a shelf right here, right? I think especially between these numbers right in here, somewhere between $100 and then around $220, it's a shelf of sideways action we've really been in since March of 24. Yeah, we had a couple of spikes above it at the end of 24 and 25. Yes, we had the spike below it in April, but this has been the majority of Solana trading for a while, and we're sitting right back down there on that support. Do we get a big break below? Okay, that could be problematic. But if we bounce here around $105, $100 and start to make our way back up, we're just in a boring zone. We're in a very boring zone for Solana. We're closer to our support than we are resistance. I am bearish in terms of my trading Solana. I'm bearish in terms of trading Bitcoin. It doesn't mean I'm not buying dips and buying support levels, because I think we're closer to the bottom than the top at the moment.
Than the top, yeah, for sure. All right, so you and I had a conversation a few weeks ago, and it was in reference to Charles Hoskinson, because he announced he was leaving Twitter. I'm done with this. And, Charles, we both said, don't worry about it, Charles will be back. Well, Let me show you this clip. Take a
Back.
look.
I'm very pleased to announce, as I announced on Twitter, that USDCX is coming to Cardano. Circle's tough negotiator. I think the integration should be in short order. Effectively, it's what we need.
All right, so there you go. He's back on Twitter to announce the fact that they've got USDC within it, but timing is kind of interesting. If you look at Scott Johnson, he was putting out a statement right here. This is USD's circulation actually starting to peak and fall, so we're seeing actually almost reverse minting here going on. Kind of, maybe not necessarily the time, but of course, now you have USDC on Cardano. What would this be? Now it's not USDC, it's USDCX to be clear. But is this going to make any help or any movement on Cardano, or help support the community in general?
I mean, you know, I think Cardano is one of those coins that people are getting tired, like myself. They're getting tired of hearing about all the hype and then price doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're in show me phase. We're in show me phase. Like, yeah, even though like almost all of crypto has been a bearish market for quite some time now, you get these little headlines of some new technology. Like I remember that a couple months ago, Tao just shot up out of nowhere because of a new partnership, right?
Yeah.
It's an exciting story. They gave it a short-term pump, and then it came back down to earth, right? Mm-hmm. It was a short-lived pump, but it showed excitement. When was the last exciting Cardano pump on a story like this? Midnight just launched not that long ago. Cardano did nothing. Now Midnight's down. You know, like, yeah. I think Cardano's in a. You got to show me. Stop telling me about how cool things are. Show me how cool it is, and show me how valuable it is through further adoption and people purchasing the token. That's not happening right now.
Yeah, there you have it. You guys make sure and follow Tim Warren over on his YouTube channel. And of course, Tim, thanks so much for coming in today, man. This has been a crazy market. Hopefully things are going to get better here for sure.
And if it doesn't, it doesn't. We'll just make money shorting it.
There you go. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.